All right, so I know I've established in the past that this is predominantly a college football and NFL channel. However, sometimes there's topics in other sports that are significant enough to qualify to be talked about on the air with Brian Gregoire. I love to talk sports business here as well. That's a key focus of this channel. And a topic that has been overtaking the world of sports business by storm is the Four Nations Face-Off. It debuted for the first time ever this month. The championship game between the U.S. and Canada happens tomorrow nights. It's going to be an absolute barn burner. And what it is essentially is a round-robin style hockey tournament between the United States, Canada, Sweden, and Finland's rosters comprised of all current NHL players. So you know that level of competition, level of intensity is up there. These are the best players in the world. Of course, not including Russia. I acknowledge Russia too. Russia is an absolute gold mine for hockey players. But these are some of the best players in the world going up against each other, elite competition. This tournament has been a smash hit. People have been flocking to their television screens to watch the Four Nations face off. And the numbers, they clearly illustrate that. Finland and Sweden, that matchup the other night. 1.3 million viewers. Round one between U.S. and Canada. 4.4 million viewers. Can't wait to see what the championship game between U.S. and Canada will rank when it comes to viewership. But I'm sure it'll far surpass that 4.4 million number. Over the past decade, we've been seeing a lot of major sports leagues struggle with deciding on the proper formats for their all-star games to maximize viewership and revenue. We've seen the NFL struggle mightily with the Pro Bowl. They've since pivoted and created the Pro Bowl games, which I think we can all agree has been a disaster. I mean, the viewership sucks. And it's because the event is really clunky. You've got dodgeball, you've got a flag football game. Like, nobody really wants to watch this, and there's no real incentive for players to participate in this, except for, hey, you had a great game. Come play in this dodgeball game. Come play in this flag football game. The same can be said about the NBA All-Star game. We just saw that this past weekend. Very clunky. A lot of moving parts. You've got a dunk contest, a three-point contest, a game where there's no real intensity, and all this just tomfoolery and distraction going on around the event that it's hard to dial in. I will credit the MLB. The MLB gives its players an incentive to participate in its All-Star game. The winner, of course, the American League or National League, will get both Game 1 and Game 7 at home in the World Series. So if you're an American League team and the American League wins the All-Star game, you will host both Game 1 and Game 7 in the World Series. That's a huge break, massive advantage when it comes to taking that trophy home to your city. So there's a clear reason for MLB players to participate and give their all in the All-Star game. And that's what people want to watch. People want to watch players give their all, completely invest in a game. Not be distracted, not half-assed, not have all these different little ancillary events going on. They want the game. They want the main event, and they want intensity and competition and animosity to be maximized. The Four Nations Face-Off has been the NHL's replacement for the All-Star game, and what a replacement's been. This is what an All-Star game format should look like. I know it's not a single game. I know it's not, East versus West, AFC versus NFC, but It's foreign nations, and foreign nations that have a lot of history between each other, and foreign nations that honestly produce the most talent in the world when it comes to professional hockey players. This is what an all-star game should look like. This is the model. Intensity, competition, a reason to play. The foreign nations face-off has it all. It's been a smash hit, and I want to detail 3 reasons here as to why I believe this has been such a hit out of the gates, the four nations face-off. Rivalries. Rivalries drive viewership. Rivalries drive revenue. People flock to watch Ohio State and Michigan, Steelers, Ravens, Yankees, Red Sox, Duke, North Carolina, Alabama, Auburn, Finland, Sweden, and U.S. and Canada. Those 2 matchups in particular, Finland, Sweden, U.S., Canada. There's a lot of history between those squads when they take the ice against each other. And there's a lot of animosity. There's hatred when they take the ice. And that's what people want in sports. They want that animosity. People want the smoke. As you can see right here on my chest, I'm a proud American citizen. And when we play Canada, I want to kick their ass because it's history. I love Canada as a nation, but when our boys take the ice against Canada, I want to kick their ass because it's bragging rights, it's the rivalry, it's another page in history. And you want to have that upper leg on them. You want to have that win so you can have those bragging rights for years to come. Because the last thing you want to do for the next year or 2 is listen to that rival country have a leg up on you and talk shit to you all the time. And the same goes for Sweden, Finland. If you're a citizen in Sweden, you want to kick Finland's ass. Or else you got to listen to them for the next X amount of years. Rivalries drive sports. People want to watch rivalries because that animosity is maximized. There's a nostalgic feel to this tournament because I remember growing up watching the Winter Olympics. It was always a combination of these 4 teams and Russia sprinkled in every once in a while too. That would be the Final 4 in the hockey tournament in the Winter Olympics. Every single Winter Olympiad, you'd see this. And so, a lot of us, like myself, growing up in the 2000s, the 90s, it takes us back and gives us a feeling that we haven't had in a while, watching these teams play each other. Makes us feel young again and reminds us of something that symbolized our childhood. Seeing U.S. and Canada play each other and go all gas, no brakes. The pride of your country on the line. Finland and Sweden. We grew up watching this, and now we're seeing it again. There's something special about that people really identify with, and nostalgia sells. I can't hammer that home enough. Look at what canned Gatorade did years ago. It was nostalgic. People ate it up. I routinely had like 12 cans of Gatorade in my apartment at one time in 2023 because it was just cool to have Dunkaroos. That was a childhood staple in the 90s. When they came back, I started stockpiling up on those too because my mother always put them in my lunchbox. Retro uniforms, throwback uniforms. People flock to take those off the shelves. People spend money on those all the time. The Kelly Green Eagles uniforms. U.S. Canada on the biggest stage makes people feel nostalgic, and that draws people in, engages them to these games. The last reason, and perhaps the most significant reason as to why the Four Nations face-off has been a smash hit, is the motivation of these players and the intensity of these games. There's no feeling like the feeling of representing your country. It's one thing to be on an NHL squad and represent your city. If you're a New York Ranger, representing the city of New York. If you're a Montreal Canadian, representing the city of Montreal. You're a Dallas Star, representing DFW. Chicago Blackhawk, representing Chi-Town. And on and on and on. And when you play in a Stanley Cup and you take a Stanley Cup home to your city and show it to your fans, that's a special feeling inside. But when you're representing your country, where you're born, where you're raised, there's a certain sense of pride that can't be replicated there. You're an American player playing Canada. You're representing those stars and stripes. And let me tell you, when somebody boos your national anthem, you're going to take that shit personally. I did. And there's a certain level of intensity displayed because of that. You want to defend your country. There is nothing like the feeling of defending your country, defending the Stars and Stripes, defending Finland, defending Sweden, defending Canada. You want to play your best because you're playing for the pride of your country. You want to represent your country, and there's no bigger honor in the world than doing that. And some can argue there's no bigger honor than an Olympic gold medal for your nation, or even winning the Four Nations face-off, because you represent your country. People said that about the WBC, the World Baseball Championships. If you're on Team America, Team Japan, you win that thing. That almost means more than a World Series. I guarantee you, there's some guys taking the ice for the U.S. or Canada. This shit's gonna mean more than a Stanley Cup. And it sounds crazy at the surface, but you're doing this for America. You're doing this for Canada. And the level of intensity you're gonna play at will be unmatched. The motivation you have to win is unmatched. And you see that exemplified on the ice. People are going to want to watch because these guys are going all out, hitting, fighting. 9 seconds into a game, you had 3 fights between the U.S. and Canada. That's going to engage viewers. And if you didn't watch that game on Saturday, you're going to watch on Thursday, because that will be 3 times as intense as the game on Saturday was. This shit means more. The rivalries between these nations, the nostalgia, and the motivation, the intensity associated with representing your country. When you tie that motivation in, there's nothing like it. People want to watch. NFL, NBA, the NHL put on an absolute masterclass for what an all-star game should look like. This is how you celebrate your players. This is how you celebrate your fans. And as an American, I can't wait to watch our boys take the ice tomorrow night and hopefully bring that gold home. There's a certain sense of pride associated with that. And I can't wait to watch that competition between the U.S. and Canada. And I can't wait to watch these Four Nations face-offs in years to come. I hope this doesn't go anywhere. I hope the NHL keeps this, because it's an absolute brilliant idea and the best way imaginable to maximize an all-star game. Have a great day.